Hey, this is Brandon McManus, Denver Broncos Super Bowl champion, and you listen to The Scoop on alscoop.com.
Hello, everybody. The Scoop is back, the alscoop.com podcast. Season 5, Episode 1. We pretty much have a full house today. A little bit of a different lineup, mostly the same lineup. Kyle Gauss. I'm John DiCarlo, joined by Kyle Gauss. Graham Foley, the Prince of Delaware County. Tom Agnudo is with us. Matt Venner not with us today. Guys,
What's up?
we're back.
Back. I don't want to bitch and moan too much, as it like the guy.
Where did you get that reputation on the
Because people were upset that I kept saying, "Why are we on summer break?" And guess what? We were on summer break. Summer break was great because if we weren't on summer break, I would not be so excited to be here today. We wouldn't have such a good episode coming up for you.
Are you really excited to be here?
Yeah, I can take it.
Yeah.
Look, there's a lot of parts of this gig that are great. Obviously, you get to
Parts
cover
of this
football
gig.
games, basketball games. You get to learn a lot of stuff. I can tell you a end of May, 8th straight week of nothing to talk about, but let's talk about it podcast, not on the top of the list. So 2 months off was a good break.
But we do have a lot of stuff.
Now we got a lot of stuff because we let it simmer for 2 weeks. You
Graham.
got stew growing, baby.
What have you guys been up to? Tom, just talk. People need to hear the like I said,
we
the
need to hear
Delco
the
baritone. Like just
He's not like a toy. Like,
I know he's not a
real
toy.
boy.
Guys, just get Tom to come, just have me talk.
Say things.
They don't want me to talk about any sports, just have me talk. And
We're just
breathe
talking
into
about
the
coffee, and I love the way you say coffee.
Nah, but been pretty well, just working.
eating cheesesteaks with your buddy Johnny.
Yeah,
After
eating
covering
cheesesteaks with this guy John I met at the Philly Live tournament a couple weeks ago. Never met him before. Seems like a pretty decent guy.
Yeah.
That's John, not some random guy, but yeah, just.
You've never had D'Alessandro's before, right?
Yeah, nah, it was good.
It's overrated.
Yeah, I might side with. It was really good, but with all the hype it gets, I think
It's just so mass produced at this point.
Yeah.
We went in there; it was super crowded.
It was
and then the
ridiculous.
other thing they do is the line was out the door. And they hate when close the door, close the door.
yeah.
Like, what do you expect? Like, what do you expect? Like,
Yeah.
do you think that the air from Ridge Avenue is gonna
Don't you want the door a little open? I mean, it's hot in there. You got the
It was
grill
so
going.
hot.
Don't you
So
want-
do you think the Ridge Avenue, the Henry Avenue heat or atmosphere is going to taint what is already a very unhealthy sandwich? Like, I don't know.
They're probably worried about bugs and stuff in the air, and
They probably-
but they just don't. I don't know. They don't want the door open. I see it from both sides.
Speaking of heat, I was talking shit about the heat in my office. We all getting my haircut the other day.
Season 5
And as I'm walking out, the guy was
like
like,
he
"I'm sorry,
tries.
did I hear that you work at Temple?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I'm part of the HVAC team there." I was like, "Oh god." Hey, you're gonna have a great time. So I just turned my badge around. Like
That's
keep
probably
walking.
it's record heat, right? Just give us a
Well, this is
freaking break,
before
buddy.
before the heat. I haven't mowed my lawn in about 3 weeks because of this heat. Just have not done it.
Yeah,
I'll probably do it tomorrow.
I'm gonna try to do it tomorrow morning, before work, and I don't care.
Don't
who
be
I,
that guy. Do not be that guy. Every time I wake up, I hear that at 8 a.m. I'm like, God, I hate this dude. It's one of the things when I'm passing him on the street, I'm probably gonna take a little longer to swerve out of the way because they woke me up at 7:15. Don't be that guy.
Well, our neighbor next to us, we currently don't have a neighbor next to us, and the neighbor to the other side of us gave us a bunch of crap for installing a driveway, so I don't care.
You know how you catch more flies, John? With honey instead of vinegar.
Let's
get the scoop. Graham
Season
before
5.
the podcast said,
Season 5
I just said the meanest thing he'd ever heard me say. Wasn't even that mean. Let's keep doing it.
I'm sure you said meaner, but
Season 5 is it the Guy Rogers season, the famous number 5?
Sean Bradley.
Sean Bradley season,
Pat
Joe-
Burrell season.
the Joe DiMaggio season,
We're saying
Donovan
pass
McNabb.
over Pat Burrell.
Jonathan McNabb season.
Al Scoop will always love you.
Here we go. Tom is wearing a we should tell people he's wearing a T-shirt commemorating
You're
the
the most famous number 5. Joe DiMaggio.
I just
He- he-
literally just said Joe DiMaggio.
Wow.
I don't listen
I
to
did
that.
this. If I did this, and I know I do it a lot,
Graham, cut this.
and I know I repeat myself a lot, and I've gotten literally within the past
Sports
few
Illustrated
weeks.
says number. Oh, that's dumb. Lidstrom's number 2. That's stupid.
Kyle's reading.
Pujols
other
number
things in the
4.
middle of the-
Yeah, Liverpool season.
Okay.
Johnny Bench.
Yeah, so I don't know. Anyway,
But Tom's wearing a shirt they definitely got from a vendor outside the game.
Yeah, you can't wash that or else it'll just.
Yeah, I know,
you can
exactly.
see it's starting to get a little like
Pride Pretzels
you know,
and was it Phillies?
prison.
It says the
Prison.
vet. It has the vet. It says Pride, Pretzels, and Prison.
Actually, so years ago, I think I was in high school. I think the second or third concert I ever saw was Sting at the Spectrum for the 10 Summoner's Tale.
Not the Police. Sting.
No, Sting is a solo artist.
okay.
So you go back into the parking lot and everybody's selling. You got like the legit concert T-shirts and then like kind of the bootleg concert T-shirts. And a buddy of mine gets one. And it looked nice. He's like, I honestly can't tell if it's real or if he's like, the only way you're gonna know is if you put it in the wash. He put it in the wash and it comes out and he's like, I got to bring this in because again, smartphones didn't exist then. Brings it into school. The guy had taken this image of Sting from the album cover and I think it put it over what used to be a Shaquille O'Neal character shirt. So there's this image of Sting on a horse with Shaquille, and his face was washed out and Shaquille O'Neal's head was on it. I was like, I've never
It's like when
seen
Stalin got
anything like
photoshopped
this.
all the people out in the 40s. Same concept.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It's incredible.
We're off to a hell of a start. Anyway, well, we do, because we've been on a summer break, we have a lot of stuff to catch you guys up on. Hopefully, if you have been tuning in every day on the site, reading our content, hanging around on the message boards, you know about a lot of this stuff, but we've got a ton of basketball stuff to get into, a lot of football stuff to get into. We've had staff changes, recruiting, preseason camp to preview. I don't know. You guys want to start off with hoops? Talk hoops?
Sure.
Talk about the Jaleel White commitment. So Aaron McKee does have his first verbal commitment from the 2020 class. We kind of knew this was coming. Jaleel White, one of the two big stars at Wildwood Catholic, 6'7", pretty much point guard, point forward, verbally committed to Temple finally last week. He did tell me on Sunday night, he said, yeah, I told them I was committing, but I was waiting on a commitment video, which he put out on Instagram. So he had about 14 scholarship offers. He said Georgia did, get him with some late interest.
That's John Linehan.
Yeah, but Temple was his best offer. If you read the story that we put out there, I talked to Ari Rosenfeld, who's been a guest on this podcast before. Ari thinks the Temple's getting a steal because Jaleel, as you guys might recall, had a torn meniscus injury in his left knee, and had he been healthy and gone to the Philly Live event that Tom was referencing before, during the open period, instead of it being an AAU event, it's a team event. So Wildwood Catholic was there. They lost in the game that Tom and I saw. They lost to Don Bosco Prep. Could have used Jaleel White. Ari thinks if a 6'7" point guard like Jaleel, who's playing on the ball with his team, goes out and hits a few threes, maybe some Big East schools might have come calling, and but he was out and injured. So he thinks Temple's getting a steal. They've been recruiting him for more than a year now. We figured this would be kind of the first domino to fall. And now it's on to, some of the other names that they're looking at. But I guess we weren't surprised by this, kind of figured this was coming.
No. If anything, I'm a little surprised it took 2.5 months after his official visit, or 2 months or whatever, month and a half. But no, it seems like the type of situation where a meniscus injury is never the best thing in the world, especially considering sometimes you see it takes people a little longer to come back from those than necessarily like an ACL. But yeah, it might be a blessing in disguise where Temple got in with somebody that could have blown up during the summer if he had stayed healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good reward for getting in there early, and it just really looks good for McKee to be able to get that, that closing that we knew that was really important to get started with his first real recruit. And I think that Taj is a little bit of a more difficult get for Temple, but I honestly do think that they really like each other, like playing together. So getting Jaleel was really big, I think, for getting Taj possibly.
And just going off that, the game that me and John watched Wildwood Catholic with Don Bosco, Taj even talked about, when I talked to him after the game, about how it's been playing without Jaleel. And he didn't, because Taj didn't have his best showing during that game. He kind of struggled, hitting shots. He really wasn't able to get into a rhythm. So just in the future, if they are able to land Taj and Jaleel, they said they potentially want to play college together, could be an interesting pairing at the next level too.
Yeah, and moving along to Tosh Tweet, the 6'6" forward from Wildwood Catholic, Temple's been recruiting him as well. So he recently announced the final 8 of Temple, Seton Hall, Penn State, Rhode Island, Florida, West Virginia, Miami, and Illinois. Didn't really know much about Illinois being involved. I was told by someone familiar with his recruitment that Taj could take an official visit to Penn State in September. I reached out to him for confirmation on that. I haven't heard back yet. His coach, Dave Deweese, I think had told the Inquirer that Taj is planning to visit Florida and West Virginia. I still think Temple's in the mix. Some of these football schools will try to get a recruit on campus during a football weekend and try to get them to commit on the spot. If not, they're moving along to somebody else.
It's pretty common elsewhere. Temple does that a lot too.
Oh, yeah. So we'll see. I mean, another person I talked to who's familiar with his recruitment thinks that at the end of the day, and again, this is all fluid, it could come down to Temple, Seton Hall, Penn State, and Rhode Island. He has had that Florida offer out there for a while, had a pretty solid summer. Again, I don't know. Again, it depends on what layer and what wave of priorities Taj is on for some of these schools. So, you can take a look at, what the rosters look like at some other places. I do still think that the Temple's right in there in the mix, but, we'll see.
And I feel like with Jaleel, he really made it sound like he wanted to stay home. He wanted to go somewhere that was close. He really liked Temple a lot, whereas talking with Taj, he seemed like he liked Temple, but he really wanted to explore all his options. He really liked the idea of going really far away as well. So I really do think that Jaleel being at Temple is is important to maybe having him consider staying home, staying a little bit closer to home. But he's definitely going to explore every option possible.
Mm-hmm. Another name to look at, Graham did a story on him, I guess, back in May, right?
Yeah.
Obina Anakili Killen, 6'8" or 6'9" forward from West Virginia. Still looks like Temple and VCU and Penn State are among his biggest offers. Source I spoke with today said that South Carolina and Maryland are still hanging around out there. Haven't offered him yet, but could offer him in that next wave if they don't get some of the guys that they want. Another source I talked to today about him, who's familiar with his recruitment, tells me that he really has a really good relationship with Aaron McKee. That's one of the things that's keeping Temple in it. I think the longer this goes on, if he decides to push off his recruitment until October or November, that's not a great sign for Temple. I think if he's going to commit to Temple, this thing might come together. I don't know if it'll be late August, early September. Again, we have not talked to him recently, but that's the information I have on him. They did extend an offer a couple weeks ago to Santiago Vescovi. He is back on July 14th. They offered him. He's the 6'2" point guard from the NBA Global Academy down in Australia. He's from Uruguay. Has offers from Maryland, Miami, Washington State. Initially, it looked like maybe Temple would offer him to try to speed up the process to get Jaleel to commit. But I've been told that they still like him and they would still take him. Now, he is a point guard. Now, if you take, again, depending on who you talk to, I talked to a couple different people recently. One said he's going to be a tough get for Temple. Another person I talked to today said they are absolutely not out of it. He's seen that they've had some success bringing in some international players, so who knows? He's purely a point guard. I mean, I suppose you could tell Jaleel White you could be a point forward, you could handle the ball. Tom and I saw Chris Clark at Philly Live just talking informally, and Chris had said that we might be putting the ball in Quentin Rose's hands more this year. So, then you've got, of course, Josh Pierre-Louis, Ty Strickland is maybe a backup point guard. So, it could get a little crowded there. We're putting the cart before the horse, but he's a really good player. They have an offer out to him. They would absolutely take him if he committed. I'm not saying he's on the verge of committing. Then they also offered recently a player named Josh Banks, 6'4" shooting guard, kind of a combo guard from Olympic High School in Charlotte, that has gotten offers recently this month from Virginia Tech and Providence. He has VCU, Murray State. Murray State can now say they put a lottery pick into to the NBA. So was asking a person I talked to today, I said, can you give me the Temple comparison? They said Ramon Moore, not quite as tall, more explosive than Ramon Moore. So those are, I think, some of the prime names that they would keep an eye on for now. Again, they have one scholarship in the books with Jaleel White, 2 more to go. I think they'd like to get a shooter. They had been recruiting, Dominguez Stevens from down the D.C. area, just committed to Seton Hall. I don't think Temple was ever able to. They were in the mix for a while. Looked like they were going to get him on campus for an official visit. They did not. So he's off the board now. So some of the names, again, I would keep in mind there. I don't know. You guys have any predictions on how the rest of this class fills out?
No.
No.
Talk to me, Rob. No, I mean, I think it's a situation where they're going to look at another guard/wing, whether that's another point guard like Santiago or Josh Banks, and then you look for a big. I don't know if you classify Taj as a big. He is. If you run a little more, you can do things like that. or if he projects to be more of a wing. But I would
Definitely
expect,
not a post. Oh, not that there are too many backs in the basket guys
yeah, it's
anymore. Anyway,
2019.
right.
So yeah,
But I mean, he's not even. Yeah, I mean, he's a 6'6" wing player, not so much a big. Tosh? No, maybe
he's 6'7".
6'7". Yeah,
6'7",
sorry.
yeah, he's 6'7". I mean,
Mhm.
Rivals list him as a power forward. He's 6'7", 195. You get a little more weight on him. You could. It depends on the system you run.
Mhm.
But yeah, one of each. To go, please.
And another basketball note here, in case you guys have been following along over the summer, we've had some recent interviews with some of the new players, Jake Forrester, Damian Dunn, Josh Pierre-Louis. I guess Damian was technically the first recruit of the Aaron McKee era with Aaron going out and being the face of the 2019 class.
Unless you consider Monty.
Yeah, Monty Scott. I'm still hoping still trying to talk to. I've actually been told that he wants to be referred to as James Scott and not Monty. I'm sure a lot of the team calls him Monty Scott. But yeah, they got him as the transfer from Kennesaw State. Damian Dunn signed with them last November. Talked to Jake Forrester recently, Damian Dunn, and Josh Pierre-Louis. If we're looking ahead to this year's roster, now obviously when Graham and I sat and talked with Aaron McKee, we asked him flat out, are Jake and Ty Strickland going to sit out? He said, yeah, they're going to sit out this year. I don't know if he felt like he had to say it at the time, but multiple people have told us now that they are trying to get waivers for these guys. I think their chances of getting Jake a waiver are a little bit better than Ty Strickland. We'll see. If you get Jake Forrester a waiver, I think the complexion of the season changes a little bit. He's 6'9", can rebound, his shot's getting better. He was a former top 150 recruit at West Town, played with Cam Reddish, Mo Bamba, guys like that. Really talented. All three of these guys, it might sound cheesy, one of the common themes that they kept reiterating is that it seems like a really close team. It seems like the culture is there. These guys have been working out a lot, seem to be getting along a lot. But hopefully we'll talk to, like I said, James Scott and Ty Strickland as well. Wanted to play a couple of clips for you guys from those interviews in case you missed them. This clip here is Jake Forrester just talking about when he was at Indiana, one of the things that he kept, the descriptor that was used about him, Archie Miller kept talking about, he's a live wire. He's really energetic. So I asked Jake about that, and this is him just talking about that piece of his game and just how he would describe himself as a player.
Yeah, you can't teach that. It's a mentality. Like, I'm kind of crazy up in the head when it comes to on the court stuff. Like, it's just how I am. I'm just energetic on the court, and I just feel like it opens up a lot more opportunity for everybody else to shine. And if you have a guy like that, it brings attention, basically.
I mean, a lot of people have seen you play. Again, you're well known around here. For someone who hasn't seen you play before, how would you describe yourself as a player now to someone who doesn't know who Jake Forrester is?
Yeah, I just feel like you just have to come watch. I play above the rim real well. I can rebound the ball. I run the floor like a deer. And I would shoot on like 13, 15 footers, like short corner shots, elbow shots. I can make them on defense. Like I try to play above the rim on defense as well, with getting rebounds before they come below the rim, blocking shots. I've been working on my three ball, so like pick and pop threes. I've been working on, and Aaron definitely wants us to just show our game to the best of our abilities, and that's another reason why I like how he's turn this program. But yeah, like what I said.
All right, so the next clip we're going to play for you is from Damian Dunn. Again, Damian's an incoming freshman. Temple out recruited programs like Florida State, Georgia Tech, VCU to get him. Consistently gets described as like a Temple guard, like lengthy guy, can do a bunch of things. I was told we tried getting him multiple times after he verbally committed, and would never get back to us. A couple people had said, he's a really nice guy, kind of shy. Ended up talking to him for like 45 minutes. He was a fantastic interview, like a real pleasure to talk to. Again, all these stories are up on the site right now. We aren't going to play, obviously, the full interview. The clip that I selected for you guys today is, just ask a lot of these guys some of the same questions for consistency purposes. But I asked Damian, what has Aaron McKee been like just this summer as a head coach, his persona, the way he's kind of running the room, and thought this was an interesting answer from Damian Dunn talking about Aaron McKee and how he's carrying himself as the head coach.
He's real observant. in practice, he watches everything. He critiques when he sees something wrong. He gets on guys when they're not doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, he plays that head coach. He plays that head coach role well. Like, he walks around here, he walks in. Like, if you didn't know anything about basketball, and you were sitting on the couch outside and you see Aaron McKee walk in, you can say, "Oh, that's the head coach."
He just kind of carries himself.
Right. He has that demeanor, like, yeah, he's about his business. You can tell, like, yeah, that's a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can just tell. Like, and when it comes us on the basketball court, like, he's the same way. Like, he watches everything you do closely. Like I said, he talks to you when you're doing things the right way, and when you're not doing things the right way. He tells you what you can improve on the court. Just being a coach, being a leader. I think he's really setting a good example of what a real leader, what a true captain is.
All right, this third clip we're going to play from you is from Josh Pierre-Louis, obviously a very important get for Temple. As you guys know, he verbally committed to Temple after decommitting and getting out of his national letter of intent from UNLV after their coach was fired. So Josh, obviously a key piece of Temple's future, perhaps maybe their point guard of the future. This is Josh talking about, again, the whole interview's up on the site if you guys want to listen to it. This is Josh talking about how he developed as a more physical player. When he was a junior, he hadn't really bulked up as much, made a big leap from his junior season to his senior season. One of the things we know about Josh Pierre-Louis, he's been great at getting to the rim, can really dunk, he's really athletic, really capable of finishing around the rim. I asked him where that came from, like how he worked on that. And here's Josh just talking about a lot of the work that he put in with his father, Franz Pierre-Louis, who played at Wagner and had a really good career there and played overseas for a while. So this is Josh just talking about that aspect and how his game developed from his junior season to his senior season.
At this level in high school, I feel like it was just about mental. Like, my mental aspect got better and tougher. I mean, me being in the gym 4 or 5 hours with my dad's under the basket. He just telling me to go to the basket and try to dunk it. Mind you, my dad's 6'8", probably like 315.
Yeah.
He's a big guy, so he's sitting on the basket, and I'm just going to the basket. He's just throwing me in the air while I'm trying to dunk it. So it's just like putting force on me just to, like, if the big guys here, like, don't worry about the contact. You break through the contact. You be the contact. You be the enforcer. Don't be the person taking the contact. So that was just my goal, like, my mentality, just go to the basket. And I'm not really nervous about nobody down there. I just feel like I could finish or dunk it sometimes.
How old were you when you were first able to dunk?
When my growth spurt happened, when I grew from like 5'5" to like 6'1", 6'1", I was telling my dad I'm never gonna be able to dunk. So it was probably like my beginning of my junior year. I wasn't really dunking like that.
Really?
My sophomore year, I dunk it, but it was like a little rim grazer. It wasn't that crazy, but my junior year, that's when I really started dunking, and then my senior year, I just.
So how old were you? You said you went from 5'5" to 6'1". When did that growth spurt happen?
I grew. My freshman year, my 8th grade year, I was really small. I graduated at like 5'5".
Wow.
My freshman year, I grew to like 5'8" maybe, but I used to try to gas and say I was like 5'9", 5'10". And then around my sophomore year, I went to Roselle. I was around like 5'11". I stayed there for a little while. Then it grew. Then my junior year, I graduated from like 5'5", 6 foot. Because Nate was always way bigger than me. He was like 6'4", and I was just like 5'9", 150.
Yeah.
And I just randomly started growing. I don't know what really happened.
So you said it was really up to your junior year. That's when you started to play a little bit more above the rim.
Yeah.
And then your senior season.
Junior summer. That's when I really started playing above the rim.
I'm going to pose this question. This can be you or anybody. The answers could be the same for both. The three people we just talked about, Jake Forrester, Damian Dunn, Josh Pierre-Louis. Who's more important for Temple in the short term? Who's more important for Temple 3 years from now?
I'd say in the short term, I'd say Jake Forrester. I think he really fits a need for them. I think they get that waiver that really, like John says, changes the complexion of this team, especially when you're playing with a guy like Quentin Rose for one more year. I think that would change a lot for this team. I think long term, though, I think it's Josh Pierre-Louis. I think he really looks like the most dynamic player, especially being a true point guard like that. It's something this team's won for a while.
I hate to give the same answer as Graham, but I'm going to give the same answer as Graham. In the short term...
That's why I said it first, because I wanted to be original.
In the short term, definitely Jake Forrester, because, I mean, if you can get him clear off a waiver, it gives you more front court depth with... front court depth with Justin Hamilton, Damian Moore, especially if they want to be a team that's going to run up and down the floor consistently. It seems like Jake can be one of those guys, like, a big that can get up and down the floor, be like a trailer guy. who can hit shots potentially. Maybe a better fit than Damian Moore. We saw kind of Damian kind of an up and down inconsistent, so maybe Jake, who is a heavily recruited guy, could be like a guy that maybe potentially could replace him. Kind of the jury's out on that. And then definitely Josh Pierre-Louis. Just based off clips alone, like in the Iverson Classic and stuff, it's, you don't want to make, a full assumption off of those, but it's just hard not to, be like, oh my God, this kid can literally do whatever he wants, getting to the rim. The athleticism's all there, so he's just going to be a kid that Temple's really going to rely on in the future to run their offense.
And that was a game with, McDonald's All-Americans, too.
Right.
It's not even just, a bunch of randos in there. He was competing against high-level talent.
All-Star game or not, it was still pretty impressive for him to come in there. And he just seemed like, I think it was a story did in the Inquirer, after he talked to them after the game, he said, somebody said, but yeah, this is an all-star game. Why are you playing so hard? He's like, I don't care. I'm like a kid. I'm paraphrasing, but he said something along the lines.
I just want to kill the guy in front of me. Yeah, I just want to that, right?
Yeah, I just want to kill the guy in front of me. So he's bringing that mindset to an all-star game. That's a kid coming from a fan's point of view and stuff. That seems like a kid that you'd want to have on your team.
Yeah, same here. I think it's an great question, easy answer. But short term, Jake. Gives them, as you guys said, a dimension that they haven't. Both these guys give them a dimension that they haven't had. If Jake is eligible right away, he might start. They don't have a player like him. They hadn't had a player like him on the roster in a while. And then long term with Josh, and it could be a short term thing where, I don't think Josh Pierre-Louis is not going to start, but if he pushes for minutes, he can get him. He is the point guard they haven't had in way too long. Yeah, since Will Cummings.
Will Cummings sophomore year on, because freshman year Will Cummings.
Yeah, freshman year had problems finishing around the rim, and then he just started progressing as a sophomore. And I think Josh is, with all due respect to Will Cummings, who was a very good college player, Josh Pierre-Louis is more athletic than Will Cummings. Has a higher ceiling, cliche as it sounds. Josh Pierre-Louis is the type of point guard they should have had playing next to Shiz Alston. Shiz is a combo. Hope he can crack an NBA roster. It's going to be tough for him, but they just haven't had that dimension in a long time. I wouldn't undersell what Damian Dunn could bring to the program either. He may not see a ton of minutes this year, but he's a real smooth looking shot. He's a long defender. They like him a lot. Maybe Marty Collins is kind of like a comparison there. Marty Collins ended up being a late first-round draft pick, so that's not such a...
Marty Collins was a Temple player who swung at Carmelo Anthony. That's the most important.
The Clippers drafted him, right, or the Knicks drafted him?
He was drafted by the Knicks. He played for the Clippers later on, but he swung at Carmelo Anthony.
Former Seven Grass.
What else have you explained to me before? You explained who InSync was. What was the other one you did on the podcast? I forget. Oh, you explained who the Bash Brothers were, because I obviously didn't know who they
Bash
were.
Brothers.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
No, I did. He tells me all these things.
Go-to thing.
He thinks I'm too young for it.
Did you guys need some space from each other? Do you love each other?
No, I love Grant. I just enjoy picking on Grant.
Missed this.
To answer my own question, I'm going to mix things up. I will say Jake Forrester and Josh Pierre.
Wow.
Complete.
But the opposite way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, all right. We got a lot of football to get into, too. They are up to how many verbal commitments
16 are public. If you're a subscriber to our board, you probably have a good idea who some of the silent commits are out there. That should be coming to light in the next couple of weeks. Since the last time that we talked on the podcast, I think they've gotten 15 commits since then. Yeah. There's only 4 or 5 guys since then. I'm not going to go through all of them, but if anybody wants to chime in at any point, I think the ones that really stick out to me is Chris Long. Fran Brown worked some magic on this one.
Mm-hmm. Did he retire?
Yeah, he reincarnated himself into a 17-year-old defensive back from Willingboro.
There's too many Chris Longs. I grew up with a Chris Long. There's
pretty common.
Tell me about it. What's that Chris Long like?
That Chris Long, he's a great person too.
Did he donate a year's salary?
He did not, but if he could, he probably would.
Yeah, there you go. With this Chris Long, from what we've gathered just talking about it, it seemed like he was silently committed to Rutgers as a wide receiver for 3, 4, 5 weeks before Fran Brown got in his ear, said, your future is at defensive back. I think you should really play defensive back. He started talking around to some of the schools that were recruiting him, which obviously included Rutgers, but included bigger schools like Baylor, Boston College, Louisville, Nebraska. And the only school that he was considering that wanted to take him at defensive back was Temple. Next thing you know, Temple has the number 22 recruit in the state of New Jersey to commit. Outside of that, some of the other big names, Chaz Wallace had a Louisville offer, committed defensive tackle. Seems like they kind of started to cook a little more gas as the recruiting class went on. And the thing that kind of sticks out to me from this class is that even though it's a new staff, you're kind of still following the same process that got Temple to where it is, which is trusting the tape, not being afraid to be the biggest school to offer somebody. And, yeah, it seems like I still expect this class to probably be like 23, 24, maybe 22. But, yeah, right now they're almost there.
It's a lot of the same stuff we tell people all the time. And
Every year.
They still panic and say,
Every year.
why don't they get this kid? Why don't they get that kid? And then,
All
not that every class turns out perfectly.
Look, yeah,
but,
I mean, there's been plenty of times where kids have big offers and big rankings and they don't do anything, and there's been countless people that are 2-star recruits that come to Temple and ended up being pros. That's not to say every 2-star recruit's going to be. Obviously, a lot of these 2-star recruits probably not going to pan out, but every prospect's a coin flip.
Yeah, and some of these kids, or maybe a couple of them, will be. There's probably someone on this list right now, as we know, talking about this in late July. They'll probably lose one of these guys. They'll probably flip a couple of guys, as we know.
Yeah.
They'll probably want to get the majority of their class done in December. You have Sam Davis on that list, too, an offensive guard from Geneva High School in Rock Creek, Ohio. So an example here of, like, Temple, now they've recruited Javon Fair before. They have gone outside their traditional tri-state area footprint, but here's another example of them getting a guy who, from what I've been told, was a really good player. Had offers from a lot of MAC schools, Akron, Ball State, Bowling Green, but also had Cincinnati as well. Talked to him over the phone. He had a Rutgers offer too, had Tulane, so could be a key piece of their future there. Played through a shoulder injury last year. You mentioned, getting a player out of Chicago as well too, like going into Demaric Morris, right?
Demaric Morris, yeah. Same thing. He talked about how he's been being recruited by Walter Stewart and Melvin Rice for years at this point. So, I mean, I think he's a good case study on what you can do with coming to a new area. Like, you're coming to Philadelphia, you need to recruit the area, you need to recruit the tri-state area and dip into Ohio and yada yada yada. But that doesn't mean you need to ignore the connections you might have established at your last place.
Sure.
Would Demaric or Demetric, whatever, Morris commit to NIU? I don't know. But now that they're at Temple, they're a little bigger school, you can kind of still pluck and take kids that you want.
So you still see this as a class of like potentially 22, 23
Yeah,
players?
I think so. It's not a huge senior class. I think there's only 18 seniors. But the way this always works out is there will be more transfers in both ways. So I'd probably say 21, 22, 23.
Mm-hmm. The other thing to get to that's been sort of big news over the past couple of weeks is the departure of a longtime fixture on the staff, Ed Foley, who is leaving Temple to join his good friend Matt Rule on the Baylor staff, leaving essentially because he was moved off the field.
Sure.
And he saw that as a demotion. I get that. You and I have talked about this. Kind of see both sides of this. Kind of see it as a is what it is situation. Ed was retained by Rod Carey when Rod Carey first got here. He was going to be the special teams coach, working with the kickers, punters, and coverage units and stuff like that. And then, from what we've been able to tell, and again, we broke the story. Multiple people have reported on it, but Ed was approached by Rod early last month, and Rod essentially said, "Hey, I think you're a great coach, but I'm moving you off the field." But I know for a fact that Ed had talked to Matt Rule. When Matt almost got the Jets job, there was a chance that Ed could go with him and join him in maybe some sort of quality control position there. If things had progressed further with maybe getting an interview with the Tampa Bay Bucks, he might have gone with them there. So, I think Ed was, from what I can tell, wasn't thrilled with the timing of it, being moved off the field in June. But I think, as Rod has said, he told some reporters last week at Media Day that he wanted a fuller complement of defensive coaches on the field, and that's his right too. So obviously, look, I mean, we've covered Ed for years. I love the guy. He's great. He's a great person. He's a great coach. Left a huge legacy at Temple. So yeah, sure. I'm sure fans now, rightfully so, will be scrutinizing special teams. If the coverage units suffer, if they don't get as many block kicks, they're going to say this is because you let Ed Foley walk out the door. We'll see how that goes. What do you guys think of this and how this all went down?
I feel like it's like a time will tell type of thing. I mean, I guess like knee-jerk reaction is like, because like you said, Ed Foley is such a fixture at Temple. It's like because he was a guy like that, like resonated with Temple, with the whole viral video, and like even before that though, he was like always like promoting the basketball team. He was like a guy like that like you saw Ed Foley, you thought of Temple. He connected well with like the fans. stuff like that. Initially, I thought I thought maybe Rod should keep a guy like that on the staff that's been here for a long time. Seems to have he's has good connections in the area, stuff like that. But at the same time, Rod has every right to do what he wants to do with his staff. He with bringing guys in and stuff like that. I guess the timing is a little kind of off now that it's you're a month away from training camp and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe if he wanted to do, I don't know if it's he kept on initially after he came in after Manny, but if it was something, I don't know if it was something he wanted to initially do with not retaining Ed, but maybe it would have been better received if he would have done it initially coming in, not 2 months down the road. Into his tenure.
Well, he had the chance to. He had the chance. Right. I'm sure Rod Carey had people in his ear saying, "You have to keep Ed Foley. You just have to. He's Temple through and through. All this stuff." From what I understand, and having talked to multiple people about this, I think Rod said to Ed, "Look, hey, I'm not an idiot. You probably have some opportunities to go other places if you want to, but if you want to stick around, let's talk." And I don't even think there was a formal interview process. From what I was told, Rod said that, who am I kidding? I got to have you around here. Let me know what you want to do, and we'll move forward from there. Now, I'm sure Ed Foley might be thinking, yeah, if you're going to move me off the field, I wish you wouldn't have done it, back in January when you got the job. So I get that, but I get it. Football coaches, if you moved off the field, they sort of see it as a demotion. His pay was not cut. Rod Carey did not go to him and say, "You're done, take this or I'm firing you." It was not a situation like that. I think he did want to keep him, but again, I think both guys are entitled to their feelings here. But I get the fan side of it. They're gonna, as you said, it's gonna be a wait and see type of thing. Mm-hmm. If special teams don't miss a beat, as much as everybody loves Ed Foley, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, we can get over this really quickly." Right. But if somehow a kick gets botched or something like that, then the floodgates of fan opinion will open up and be like, "Oh, see,
If Isaiah Wright's going to be Isaiah Wright,
yes,
then
if the new kickers and punters are going to be who they're expected to be, then you should be fine."
I'll preface not that I have the longest standing relationship with Ed Foley in this room. Obviously, that's you, but I have a 10-year relationship with Ed Foley, and I still kind of see Rod Carey's rationale with this. Mm-hmm. I'm sure if you looked at the other 129 Division I programs, not all of them have a special teams coordinator on the field.
Right.
You were looking at a team which was only going to roll out Fran Brown, Jeff Knowles, Melvin Rice, and Walter Stewart as the only defensive coaches on a 11-man staff when you include Rod Carey. So I get why you needed to make that move. Does the timing suck? Sure. To be completely candid and completely honest, Ed Foley did Rod Carey no favors with his quotes to the Inquirer, where he talked about how I'm going to go to Baylor to work for somebody that I like and respect.
Yeah, some sour grapes.
Things like that didn't come off great. Like I said, I completely understand why Ed Foley might be frustrated that those quotes might not have come across the way that he meant them to be taken. But it is what it is. Like you said, if they start off 5-0 and Isaiah Wright continues to look like the All-American punt and kick returner he is, and all of a sudden Adam Berry, who got mentioned twice on Last Chance U, thank you very much, looks like a good punter, and the transfer from Indy combines with Will Mobley to solidify the kicking position, then people are going to be fine.
Yeah. And so they bring in Brett Dearson. Again, we've talked about this.
That's the other part of this.
So that gives you an idea of how far along Temple's football budget has come, and probably gives you an idea that Ed was still getting paid pretty well here. And again, not that at no point did Ed Foley say that any of this was about money necessarily, but Rod Carey gets a guy who he'd worked with before, Brett Dearson, to come from SMU, a team in conference where he was the defensive line coach, gets him to leave SMU, comes to Temple as the associate special teams coordinator. So just in title alone.
Assistant to the regional manager.
Yeah. Wait, what is that? What's that?
The
from?
Office.
That's right.
It's a comedy with
I know.
Steve Carell, Rainn Wilson.
You know that guy?
Lots of laughter.
John Krasinski.
We were talking about
4-year-old
version
pre-Emily Blunt, John Krasinski.
Yeah. So he takes the associate special teams coordinator after having been the defensive line coach at SMU.
So he's tackle, but yeah, they had two defensive.
Oh, that's right. So defensive tackles coach, but left an on-field position at SMU to take an off-field position at Temple.
A conference rival.
Yeah, a conference rival. So he's probably not taking a pay cut to do that. And Rod gets a guy who he had worked with before. Now again, who knows? Who knows what happens down the line? I've been told that Rod's what coach isn't strategic? Maybe you lose Walter Stewart after a year. A talented coach. Maybe he slides into that position. But still, Rob was able to get somebody here, so they're probably not paying peanuts for that spot. So again, interesting development. It's, again, if you're a fan, if you're anybody really, like even administrators and faculty love the guy. Other people in the athletic department love the guy because, as you said, Tom, he would go to the basketball games, was really into that stuff. The first time around when Matt Rule left for Baylor, Ed told me before, I didn't feel like it was right to go for the job. The defense was playing with its hair on fire. Phil should have been the internal guy. They didn't go with an internal guy. This time around, Ed wanted the job. He told me in a conversation before, I'm coming after the job. Didn't get it. Maybe there was some, he stuck around. He didn't, pack up his bags and leave and said, well, if I didn't get the job, I'm not working for anybody. But yeah, as you said, he was pretty blunt, a little sour with his remarks and saying, like, I'm going to go work for somebody I trust. If I'm going to be off the field, I'm going to work for somebody I trust. That's fair. But I understand.
He was passed up on twice, too. I could almost get the frustration at this point and just want to move on to something that moves up.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk a little bit more football here. As you guys, if you've tuned in on the site, we're going to be doing these camp primers as preseason camp gets a little bit closer. It starts next week. Next Friday. So Kyle's done. Maybe have him talk a little bit here about some of the stuff that he's done so far, talking about the defensive line and the defensive backs, and then we'll get into more, position breakdowns. But looking at these two groups again, we haven't gotten to the thick of any media access yet during preseason camp. We don't know exactly. I know there's a ton.
No, I think that's going to come out in the next couple of days.
Yeah, there's a mailbag question about this. I would imagine it's probably going to be the same thing where we get the last 20 minutes of practice, different assistant coaches.
Probably we have availability 3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah, which is
fine.
Pretty good.
That's what it's been for the last decade.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So, just looking at the defensive backs here and the defensive line, obviously you lose a couple of guys to the NFL. You lose Michael Dogby to the Arizona Cardinals, a 7th-round draft pick. You lose Rock Ya-Sin to the Colts, a 2nd-round draft pick. But I don't know, not missing much of a beat at either one of those positions, right?
Yeah, I think each of them have guys coming back that are established. Not to give too much away from the actual camp primers, which I would encourage you to read. Obviously, we have 2 up there. We're going to keep doing that.
They're really
Yeah. I think we have 6 or 7 more. Tom's got one coming. Graham's got one coming. So, it's going to go a little higher up. But in general, I would say starting with the defensive backs, I think Delvon Randall is the obvious one you have to kind of replace there in addition to Rock Ya-Sin. Rock Ya-Sin, while obviously was a 2nd-round pick, I think it's more obvious who replaces him because obviously you have the Baylor transfer Harrison Hand, you have returning guys like Christian Braswell, Ty Mason, Kamir Brown probably would have been in that mix, but he's out for the year. Starting opposite Linwood Crump, who started opposite Rock Ya-Sin last year, so you don't. So you don't necessarily have to. Anyway, the safety position, Delvon Randall, is it going to be a Penn State transfer and Aaron Monroe, who isn't on the roster yet, but I've been told countless times that he's already in the facility. He just hasn't been added to the roster yet. Or is it going to be somebody out of nowhere to start opposite Benny Walls? Defensive line, I think they're a really solid defensive tackle. Need a lot of depth behind them that they don't have right now. I think the starters in Dan Archibong and presumably Karamo Diabate are solid. Beyond that, you're going to have to develop some depth. And at defensive end, I think there's a lot of guys that played a lot of snaps last year. So even though you are losing Zach Mesday, who was technically the starter Jimmy Hogan, who was technically the starter last year, you return guys like Zach Mesday, Quincy Roche, Dana Levine. So give them a read. Added a lot of Pro Football Focus stuff in there, a little more in depth than just the elevator pitch. But yeah, football is back, boys.
Temple football players do well with Pro Football Focus, don't they?
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Between Linwood Crump and Dan Archibong had the most.
Yeah, Matt Hennessy.
Well,
they're backed up by stats. Like,
didn't
give up a catch.
Archibong is what, like the most quarterback pressures of any returning interior lineman.
Thanks for giving away my stat that was in the not my stat. Pro Football Focus's stat. Yeah, that we're encouraging people to read on the site, alscoop.com.
I'll zip up my mouth.
The authority on Temple Athletics.
We're just going to read you the whole article right now.
What if we did that?
When I wrote these letters, or rather the bulk of them.
A dramatic reading in a British accent from John DeCarlo.
I think is that the start of Walden when I wrote these pages, or rather the bulk of them. I lived alone in the woods.
So I didn't recognize that. I got it was a reference
Walden.
to something.
On the way up, I was listening to the Phillies game, and Jim Jackson was talking about how like I think it was Jim Jackson talking about how like Waze, when the app first opened, used to be able to put like whoever's voice on there. He said like, yeah, you should just put Morgan Freeman on there.
still can.
Drive like a block like around the corner. They like, I don't even have to go anywhere. I just have Morgan Freeman talking to me like as
You
we
can
drive.
still do
Yeah, you still I put the Toy
Cookie
Stories.
Monster,
Dude. I put Toy Stories on there.
You
So,
can do
put
Cookie Monster. My
Monster?
mom was driving the other day, and they said, police officer up ahead. See if they want cookie. It was amazing.
Yeah, Buzz Lightyear told me, police officer up ahead, better turn off my laser. I was like, what?
I didn't know
You
you
threatening
could
to
still-
kill the cops? What is this,
I
Buzz?
never really used Waze. I should use
right.
Waze more because it's better than.
Yeah,
than
sometimes
Google
I
Maps.
can go on a rant about Waze. Sometimes
Sometimes
I'll have
they
to take
overcomplicate
3
it, yep.
right turns to save 20 seconds when I could just stay on the same road.
And then the light
right.
changes,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
all right.
I'm
Maybe
with
I
you on
shouldn't.
that one.
Yeah, I've never used Waze before. I just stick with the good old fashioned,
I use-
MapQuest.
I was
still
gonna say,
print
you
them out.
print it out.
Print it out.
You're right.
No, I don't. No, I'm kidding. I just use Google Maps. That's on my
You
phone.
guys don't remember, John does obviously. You guys don't remember even the pre-MapQuest days where Google used to have a function where you could text Google and say, I'm at this address, can you tell me how to get to this place?
No.
And they would just send you a text message back with like, turn right here, turn right there.
Wow.
And got lost
I actually don't
constantly.
even remember that.
I
I
did.
need to
Got
look for the
lost
street
constantly.
signs
And obviously
and-
there was the printing out.
I go far back
papers.
as like my first job.
I had an atlas in my glove compartment.
My
Like
first
a-
job at the Daily
still-
Journal, again, I was working in South Jersey from 98 to 2001. So if you had to go cover a high school state playoff game, you're literally either looking at a map or what you would do is call up to find someone in the athletic director's office, say, what's the best way to get up there? And then some of the high schools in South Jersey, literally you'd get instructions depending on how rural it was. All right, you're going to go down Route 77. There's going to be a produce stand on your right. If you turn there, it's going to shave 5 minutes off your trip, and then you're going to find another county access road back there, and be like, all right. So now I'm lazy. When I drive home tonight, I will still plug my home address into Google Maps just to see what it gives me.
I use Waze going home every time. I say it's just so like I don't get detected by hidden police officers and stuff like that. But in reality, it's just laziness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to think. I just want to follow what the robot tells me to do.
See, I won't plug it in if I know where I'm going. But if I
It's gonna
need
freeze you,
need to know where to go.
Well, if there's a traffic jam on your way home, Waze would direct you around that.
Well, yeah, that's true.
We used to have to listen to KYW on the way to the Phillies game to hear the traffic on the news.
Little typewriter noises in the background. Yeah. Well, it's mailbag time, boys. Mailbag. Fifth season of mailbag questions. JHG 722 from the message board kicking us off with his standard question, but I appreciate the questions. Fran Dunphy used to say, "How are your dogs?"
Rings is fine. I think he's getting ready, getting used to the idea that he's no longer going to be number one. So he's dealing with that. But other than that, he's fine. Meg might have given him a concussion the other day. I was in the bathroom taking care of my business, and I hear dong like a gong. And I was like, what was that? And it turns out Meg was like kind of swinging back and forth her like metal water bottle. Just cracked her.
You teased me about my last interaction with Riggs.
You called him Sweetheart.
Oh,
He came over
yeah.
and was like, Sweetheart, how are you? I was like, that is a male pit bull.
Our friend Nick Manta, former a Temple grad, former WHIP sports director, now works at the Golf Channel, had an engagement party a month ago. So I pick up Kyle and Meg from their place in Glenside, go to Nick's parents' place. I'm like, you gotta let me see. I always have to fight for time with Riggs.
Yeah, he doesn't know you.
Yeah. So he comes out. He jumps up on me. I go into like full, dog voice. It was bad. I was like, "Hi, sweetheart," and Kyle's like, "Sweetheart."
Can I address the reason why most of the time I prevent you from coming into my house?
Because you think I'm gonna use your bathroom?
Because every time you tell me you're not going to use the bathroom, and then you disappear to use the bathroom.
I didn't use the bathroom this time.
Yeah, this one time. Every other time it's like, where's Johnny? We're trying to leave. Oh, guess what? He's in the bathroom.
The last 2 times I haven't. That's like
Your reputation precedes you.
whatever. Graham.
Do you want the she's fine version? Or do you want the real version?
Oh no.
Oh, Jesus.
She's struggling, but it's fine. It's fine. So Gracie had a seizure back in like May, and it took her a while to recover. But then she made a full recovery. But she had another episode the other day. But she recovered right away. Had a good day. We're just afraid it's probably like a brain tumor or something. She's 14 years old, but she's enjoying life right now. She's in a perfectly good state now. She really recovered from the other day, and we took her down to Maryland the other day for her family reunion. She was loving the water and everything, but
Family
she's
reunion,
old.
Were your cousins there?
My cousins were there, yeah.
Nice.
Not that side. But yeah, so Gracie's hanging there.
Is this the pool party thing where you're trying to mean mug?
Yes.
On Instagram?
I was trying to meme mug?
You
were
had
like the
some
background
picture
of-
on Instagram, and you were in the water, and you had this tough face. Yeah.
You're mean mugging.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Literally, this was like literally last week you posted this.
Mean mugging?
You're mean mugging.
Not,
It's probably sarcastically.
Oh, yeah.
can't
I don't think
remember
you were
what it was.
intentionally like, let me look cool in front of this. Like, I think you were
I
just
think
like,
it was.
Oh, that one. Oh, yeah, that was with that side of the family that you know. So that was a different pool party. That was a different. That was
pool
that
party. I
was
go
a-
to so many over the
Oh,
summer.
dude, yeah. That was a Northeast Philly grad party where the Twisted Teas were flowing.
Oh, yeah, when you took
Yeah.
some shots in Northeast Philly.
I did, and my mom was not happy with
Yeah.
that. That's her homeland. She was.
My wife's homeland.
She's not happy
Kind of.
about that. Yeah.
She's on like the fringe of
Yeah, the
of
fringe.
Northeast Philly. Tom, do you have a dog?
I have a dog, but lives with it was my dog like when I lived with my parents. So like my parents have it. I don't live with my parents anymore, and they live
man.
dude grown man on my own. But no, anyway. So I have he's a golden doodle. His name's Buster. Yeah, so I see him like every once in a while. But for whatever reason, after I moved out, and I guess like after I like started like not seeing him as often, he like got like this like really like weird. Like, anytime I'm around, he'll like leave the room or something. It's like really, yeah. I don't know why.
Spurned?
I don't know if he got like. What'd you say?
I say you spurned. You left him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what
I
like
said something
the joke. Yeah, it sounded like you said something
I
else.
don't know what you guys are referring to legit.
But I don't know if there's like a sense and betray of him, like that, like from me, like thinking like his. I don't know. But ever since I moved out, he's had like a weird like relationship.
Graham,
Like,
stop liking things during
That
the
was
middle
my
of the
first
scoop.
tweet the entire time. I was thinking this person I have not responded to their tweet at me in like 2 hours, and this was an opportunity to do it. But I was listening to you, Tom, at the same time.
What did he say? What was he talking
He was
about?
talking about a dog that would leave the room whenever he would come in. And
All right,
now
so he
he's
was
living on
paying
his own,
attention.
and
Sam, if we go on vacation and we leave him with my mother-in-law and we come back, he's a little pensive. Like he looks at us like as if to say, like, don't expect to get like a ton of attention from me. Like it'll take like a day or so.
I'm dropping Riggs off at the Clink Friday morning. And he's gonna spend like 2 days in Gen Pop until I come back on Sunday. We're going to Ocean State, Maryland just for a weekend. He'll love me on Sunday.
Aw.
He'll be like inseparable. He'll also be smelling very good because I do like the here's extra $10. Please clean him before you give it back to me.
Sam is starting to go blind.
Aw.
He's starting to lose his vision a little bit. Like he's 12. I mean, he can still sometimes he needs help coming down the stairs. He's a little slower going up the stairs. I mean, he's still moving around pretty well. Still eats, still goes to the bathroom and stuff. But sometimes now you'll put like a little treat in front of him, and he kind of like, I'm like, it's right here, bud. So he's definitely starting to lose his vision a little bit, which is kind of depressing. But otherwise, knock on wood, he's pretty healthy. So hopefully he stays healthy for another 85
You're
years.
the one who didn't knock.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 You're like an RA knock.
Yeah.
I can smell that.
Oh, God. Next question from the message board, Green Street Al. Interested in hearing what the crew thinks, how well the team is prepared for the season heading into camp, specifically from the standpoint of comparing to what Collins did in his transition with the benefit of hindsight to how Collins ran things and how he did. If this is better answered at the end of camp, cool.
I'll preface it by saying it's definitely going to be better answered at the end of camp.
Yes.
Considering we're pretty much guessing at this point, I would assume, just completely from the outside looking in, because we haven't had access to the team in 3 months, I would assume that Rod Carey's staff will hit camp running faster than Jeff Collins' staff did for their first camp because they've done this before.
Right.
And this is a staff that was together last year, and Rod Carey's been a coach for 6 years, so you would hope that some of that learning curve is gone.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I mean, it might sound like a simple point to make, but Kyle makes a really good point. Don't underestimate the fact that Rod Carey has head coaching experience, and the previous few guys did not. You know, and a lot of what they're going to be doing, maybe stuff that they did at NIU. I'm sure they're going to talk about the Temple culture, the Temple brand, and all that stuff. But yeah, I think they will be better prepared. He has, as Kyle said, most of his staff with them. He's got some insight into how Temple used to run things in the past. So, can't imagine them not being prepared. I'm sure he'll talk about some of the transitional stuff. Oh, at this point, a few months ago, we had the names on the helmets. I'm still getting to know the guys, but I think they'll probably be in a pretty good spot.
I would
with it.
appreciate some of the names of the helmets. There's going to be new guys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If I had that for here, like I had Graham with just Graham.
would have saved a lot of
Sometimes I
stress in
forget.
the first few weeks.
Next question. Next question. But two questions here, basically the same question. One from Temple J on the message board. How will the Foley departure affect the team?
Well, I
Same
didn't think I was
question.
announcing my departure today, but I
Yeah,
can announce it
let's
on the
just
pod
address the
exactly
elephant in the
today.
room. Foley's leaving.
Yeah. I'm not going anywhere. Don't leave. Yeah, and Adam Devorin on Twitter, it's essentially the same thing. What will the effect of Ed Foley's departure be on Temple's relationship with? Well, a little different, but same. How will Ed Foley's departure on Temple's? Let me just start this again. What will the effect of Ed Foley's departure on Temple's relationship with high school coaches throughout PA, New Jersey, and Delaware be?
That might even be more of a legitimate question than the first one. Well, how will it affect the team? Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be a bit of a blow. He had relationships in here that went back decades, obviously, but as of right now, you have Fran Brown, who really is plugged in South Philly. You have Gabe Infante, who has connections
in South Jersey.
I'm sorry, and South Philly. You don't know.
It might be South Jersey.
Front Oregon, you have no idea.
Yeah.
South Jersey, and then great Gabe Infante, North Jersey, and the city. So you would hope that
Cheesesteak charter.
they could kind of make inroads via those people.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's the same thing. Like Jeff Collins' group, when they came in, they had nobody with regional recruiting. I vividly remember a high school coach telling me they literally have nobody assigned to South Jersey right now. They did not have a South. There was a couple months where they did not have anybody recruiting South Jersey for Temple, who's made its money off South Jersey. Obviously, that evolved. People develop relationships. It's a business. The reason these people are successful is because they're able to develop relationships.
Yep. It's the
They'll be
same
okay.
wash, rinse, repeat cycle. And I remember when you and I had that conversation, and then some people that you typically hear from who still have a vested interest are like, how can that be happening? How can that be like that? Then they got somebody to recruit South Jersey, and they were
Yeah,
fine,
it all turned out fine.
Yeah.
As for how it will affect the team, I would think that if any team is prepared to weather the storm of coaches leaving,
Yeah.
it's probably the people at 10th and Diamond.
Yeah.
So, it's a business. I'm sure the players know that, and hopefully they adjust to that.
Yeah, a lot of those guys, spoke out. Sean Bradley, all those guys will miss you. A lot of the pro guys chiming in, Sharif Finch, Brandon McManus. So, yeah, it is a loss. I'm not trying to minimize it. As we said, the guy has been great to us over the past several years. I'll miss being around him as a person, miss covering him. But, again, if they win, they plug in the right pieces there, they should be fine. Next question from the message board. JDC, will you and your staff be able to observe any portions of summer camp? Will there be any aspects that you'll be able to report on at all? I know the latitude you all have can change from head coach to head coach. Procedural question there. I don't expect things to change there. Again, we don't have the official media access directive yet, but I would imagine it's probably going to be a couple times a week. Last 20 minutes of practice, different position groups, different players.
Spring practice access was the exact same as
Yeah.
previous regimes.
Yeah, so I wouldn't expect.
I don't think I went to a single one. I went to one. I went to one.
Next question on the message board comes from DBlaze75. We all know strength and conditioning is a very big part of an athletics program. It has me wondering what the players think of the new strength and conditioning staff as I watch David Feely on ESPN. Any rumblings on difference in approach? So far, so good. A little worried. I mean, I haven't.
Yeah, I mean,
heard.
I think a lot of that is Dave Feely's supposed to be a bit of a rising star. Obviously, he's on the ESPN. That was the one thing that Manny Diaz took with him during his tenure here at Temple. But I mean, Brad Ort's not some guy off the street. Brad Ort obviously fought at NIU. He has NFL experience. He was with the Dolphins. He was NIU's coach. He was at Western Carolina with, I think, Rule. I think he might have been the strength coach while Rule was a position coach there. Maybe they overlapped. But yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything, but I would assume it's okay.
Yeah, again, one of those things that I have not heard anything. Sometimes you do hear rumblings of like, I don't know about this guy, I don't know about that guy. I have not heard anything about Ort that would say that he's not going to do a good job. I get that, Feely goes down to Miami. It was a loss, but, he's not the only good strength and conditioning coach in America. Again, these are all valid questions. I get it, but I haven't.
In hindsight, this turned out to be true, but I vividly remember when David Feely was hired here, Football Scoop quote tweet, because somebody was like, rising star David Feely, and Football Scoop quote tweeted and was like, if I had to hear about another strength coach being a rising star, I just got fair enough.
I feel like with strength coaches, no news is good news. If I don't hear about it, they're fine.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, the next question comes from SHU Source on the message board. Do you guys know yet if Rod Carey will be participating in the kind of weekly TV show or segment that Jeff Collins and Matt Rule did with 6ABC?
I reached out to a Temple official about this today because, that's what we do for our subscribers. And yes, that's confirmed. Rod Carey will continue that segment on 6ABC that Jeff Collins and Matt Rule did.
There we go. Next
You heard it
question.
here first.
Fishing at the rock.
Yeah.
I probably say this all the time. When I lived in Muncie, Indiana for a couple of years, and there was Ball State at the time, it was Brady Hoke, who later ended up being the coach at Michigan. Unless I'm having a fever dream or I took a little too much DMT or something, back then there was a show called Coaching with Cook. Cooking with Coach. And it's literally just Brady Hoke teaching you how to do doing like a grilled cheese. It was like 3 cameras. Like I like to butter both sides. And you put it on.
You want this to be a Western omelet. That changes
It was
everything.
Exactly. It was just his like probably really nice pre-made like home that was just like cookie colored. And he's like, "All right, guys, this is how we're gonna do Kraft mac and cheese." And it was just that every
What
Sunday,
was-
public access. Can't find any record of it online. So
You go to Indiana.
yeah,
You get there as a how old were you?
I was 13 to 16.
You arrive in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? You're like, I'm now living in Muncie, Indiana. What was going through your mind at the time?
I mean, I was a 13-year-old, so I probably wasn't happy about most things in general. Probably just wanted to be left alone, and really appreciated the concept of a lock on my bedroom door. But other than that, I remember getting there, and my first year I shot like a lot of hoops outside because I was there for like the entire summer before
Did you think
school.
you were like Jimmy Chitwood?
I was there for the entire summer before school, so 3 months where I haven't met nobody. So I'm just there like shooting basketball, literally hoping in my mind, 13-year-old mind, someone's gonna walk by and be like, "Good shot, come hang out with me." Like,
Was Hoosiers out by then?
That's what.
when did Hoosiers come out in like 1988?
A lot
Like,
older than you. Okay, so it was out by then. All right.
Hoosiers, I think, was out before I
You
was
thought
born.
G-Hack was going to walk by in his bomber jacket and be like,
Hoosiers came out in 86. I wasn't even born until 89. I wasn't in Indiana until 2002.
let's move on.
I'm just picturing Kyle as like surrounded by like cornfields in Indiana.
I lived in,
Shoot
like-
with one basketball net. Just
So-
no cornfields, just a little.
The house we
I can
shoot on
make
the
it.
grass.
The house we initially moved into was just in like a subdivision. Like it was just a normal house. Later, when my parents split, the house my mom bought backed up to a cornfield and it had a like 2/3 length basketball court in the backyard. Basketball is very big in Indiana. Obviously.
Wow.
Right here.
Better than that, yeah, play a lot of
There
basketball.
was a movie about it. Came
Skateboarding a
out.
bit, but yeah, it was a culture shock. A lot smaller. A lot of people in that high school. If any of you are still listening to me, that's strange.
This is an answer about 6 ABC.
Yorktown High
correct?
School was actually a pretty decent high school. It produced the quarterback that was now at Vanderbilt. He went to Ball State, Riley Neal, I think. It was a pretty decent high school. It was still probably like 30% college placement. Indiana, a little bit different with things like that. But I got out. I survived. I'm a man of the world.
Came back to Downingtown.
Came back to downtown.
Where dreams grow.
Yeah.
75% of this table right now.
Yeah.
Downingtown products.
Yeah.
We love Tom though too. Anyway,
What?
next question from Moose Jake 08. What will earn Temple basketball players playing time? That's deep.
Being good on the court.
Natural athleticism.
I mean, just
Basketball props.
I don't know if he's looking for us to say here like what's Aaron putting a premium on? Is it defense? Is it effort? I'm sure it's
Wasn't there a quote from Mike Scott about T.J. McConnell where he says like that mother effer picks up full court?
Jimmy Butler.
Or Jimmy Butler said that
Yeah.
about him. I think that'll help if you're willing to play full court defense. That might help.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna press more. They're gonna run more.
I mean, I go ahead, Tom.
No, I was gonna say in the words of Mike Scott, maybe if they ain't no bitch, then we could you imagine Aaron just running down the court yelling at everybody?
I mean, I think that quote from Josh Pierre-Louis is a good sign.
Yeah.
I want to kill the guy in front of me.
Yeah.
Right? That's a mentality that probably hasn't been in this program in a while. I think
Right.
toughness is going to be a part of it. I think conditioning is going to be a huge part of it,
Yes.
considering how they want to play. But I don't think there's a cookie cutter answer to this.
Right. Next question from Vanter, VANTR.
I'm going to break this guy's heart.
Yeah.
I'm so
Can I,
sorry.
yeah, I know. Can I ask for some prognostications? Does Temple land a 5-star recruit under McKee in the next 3 years? Does Temple advance to a Final Four under McKee? Does the roster, as currently constructed, produce any NBA draft picks?
Start with the first one. 5-star recruit. I'm going to say nope.
Nope.
Final Four, probably not. Just because of how hard that is to do. Maybe. I mean, if Wichita State can do it.
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah,
they can do it.
It could happen. Am I gonna bet my mortgage on it? No, probably not.
Somebody, how long is this going to last? It could be years and years. And
It could be
bet
3
maybe
years.
one of those years they get it. Or it could be, yeah, you'd have 3 years, right?
Currently, I'm going to include because they're on campus. I'm going to include the freshmen and the transfers. Do they produce any NBA draft pick? This I'll say yes. I'll
Yeah.
say maybe Jake Forrester or something like that. Maybe
Yeah.
ends up playing their way into an NBA draft pick.
I agree. Tom?
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, it's just. I don't know. It's really tough to just say that they could do all those things. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like a. We'll see the way it plays out. The 5-star recruit, unlikely. Final four.
Real quick on that one. We didn't even consider this. One and dones are coming back, are gone. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna be able to just go straight to the NBA. A lot of these 5-star guys probably won't even go.
You're not getting Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren's going to go to the NBA eventually
Yeah.
if the rule changes.
And the
or it
one-
has changed, right?
Or they might do the thing where they go to New Zealand
Yeah.
and they go play for a year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess because a lot of people, they see Penny Hardaway and Memphis, and like you know, they automatically make the comparison. Aaron's a former, like you know, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of like a trend now with a
Aaron
lot of
hadn't spent the last 6 years coaching.
Well,
AAU.
there's the context that people need. But anyway, but yeah, I would say the most likely one is producing NBA draft picks. Jake Forrester could be a guy, like Kyle said. Possible. I think. I mean. I think Nate has the athleticism and the willingness defensively, but his offensive game would just
shoot a little more.
that needs some development. But like the effort level is there, and his athleticism is too. But I think he's a guy who could potentially, like you know, if he works hard enough and he is a hard worker, like potentially crack a roster down the line.
And I would add maybe even Josh Perry-Louis. Obviously, it's ridiculously early, but I think he's got the shooting ability that Nate doesn't, and he seems to have all the other intangibles that everyone totes about Nate. I would just say for this question, just you can be optimistic. I think this is a lot of specifics that kind of put the team in a box with expectations, but it does seem like things are changing for the better, and you can at least reach these points at some point. But I wouldn't say have all these crazy expectations yet.
Yeah. And the one thing I'll say, and you might have been going to this, so I don't care. I'm just going to cut you off anyway. The one thing we keep forgetting is maybe this is the year that Quentin Rose with the ball in his hand really puts it together.
Yeah.
And I'm not, by no means am I quick to give up on Quentin Rose, his future at this point.
Yeah.
And we didn't even list him as potential.
Yeah,
NBA
exactly.
draft pick.
I was thinking.
That's what I'm saying. Is
I was
maybe
going to put him up there. I just wasn't
Yeah.
sure if there was.
maybe
kind
if
of a key guy.
if you're running with this and he has the ball in his hand and he becomes more consistent shooting, which he was after the initial 10-game horrendous start last year, then maybe he gets his way in there. He's got the body size. He's 6'7", 6'8".
I agree. He's got he obviously has to become a stronger ball handler. But he's shown the ability to play. It's kind of like that classic debate, like just because you get steals doesn't mean you're a great defender, but he's starting to play passing lanes better. I mean, he won the Davidson game for him in Atlantic City. So, yeah, it's a terrific point. I mean, maybe he is the guy. Maybe he sneaks into the first round. But they just need a draft pick, period. They need to say that they can get somebody drafted.
Yep.
Hasn't happened since the
And
Voyant.
that's stuff that kind of lends into itself of, hey,
Let's say that they never get rid of the one and done rule and 5-stars keep coming to college. How does Temple get to a 5-star? Well, it's because they made a Sweet 16. They made an Elite 8, and that leads to them being able to get to some of these higher recruits.
And somebody doesn't care about not getting paid. I mean, let's be honest.
Temple's not paying?
No.
Oh.
But no. I mean, someone's gonna have to. You know, I'm sorry. If you're getting most 5-star guys, someone's getting some sort.
Somebody's
of
reaping the benefits.
Next question comes from Xmas for President. For this question, you are going to first need to open a fine brown liquor of your choosing.
Be right on that.
How excited?
iced tea.
How excited are you that Fran Dunphy is no longer the coach of this team? Also, when answering, you need to take a sip for every time your mind goes right to wanting to start or finish a sentence with saying he's a nice guy.
I would like to first say that there's a good potential that Fran Dunphy is going to be my professor in the fall, so I have no comment.
I've told you what the final is, right?
It's shooting a free throw.
No,
so I've
free
already
throws.
failed.
I don't think it's one.
Oh, God.
I think it's like sit here until you make 20. and then leave the court.
Until you make 20?
Yeah, that's what. This was
It's
what
the
it
whole.
was.
Does it start the first day of the
Yes.
semester?
Look, I mean, Dump's a great guy. We've talked about this a million times. If he, yeah, take a shot at him. But if he won a couple more tournament games, if he got into a couple Sweet 16s, we're having a bit of a different conversation. I think everybody knows that. Is it exciting to cover a new head coach and something different? Sure. So that's about.
I mean,
what
I'll say
things
this, and not to toot our own horns. I think we all kind of knew that last year's team had the chance to make the tournament. I think we talked about that. There was talent. It was one of Dunphy's better teams a couple of years. I'm more excited about this upcoming basketball season than I have probably been in a little while. A lot of that's just because I'm always team chaos and I like change, and change has come.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna allude to the points that John and Kyle made. Like, yeah, it's nice to cover a fresh kind of feeling team, new regime, new era, but nothing against Fran Dunphy at all or anything like that. For just
And I would like an A.
Yeah, literally everything is
a question mark at this point.
Yeah.
Fran Dunphy had very set ways of doing timeouts and very set ways of rewarding this. How's Aaron McKee going to do that? Is Aaron McKee really is he going to run 10 people out there? Like, you have no idea.
Right. Next question comes from Twitter from the I Believe guy, Jack Fatika. Does Russo have the QB spot locked up, or is there a real QB competition? Do you think Centeio will play certain packages like last year, or is the shot he has a bigger role?
I don't think anything's locked up. I don't think there's any. If Anthony Russo goes out there and throws 15 straight interceptions in practice and Tyson Taylor looks great, then yeah, I don't think they're married to him. But I do think that he definitely has the inside track at the quarterback job. I would say if he comes out and struggles like Frank Newtile did last year, and all of a sudden it's after game 2 you're 0-2. If they somehow lose to Bucknell and they go 0-2, then yeah, maybe you have that conversation. I think Toddy Centeio might fit what people think is the more classic NIU offense where they have a dual threat quarterback, but I would find it hard pressed to believe that Anthony Russo is not your starter for the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I would say Anthony Russo is definitely the front runner for the job. I was going to say this too. Kyle was talking about how like NIU's offense, they preferred the dual threat quarterback. I'm doing the quarterback primer for the site. Eventually, will be
Housecoop.com, the authority on Temple Athletics.
Anyway, so yeah, I'll be up within the next week. But in like doing research, like how the question was stated about like Centeio, like, you know, is there going to be any special packages? Because the last staff with Collins, you know, he was featured in packages. He was in special teams.
Almost too intentionally sometimes. Almost telegraphed.
Yes,
sometimes.
But he was involved nonetheless.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And but so NIU, and maybe they will feature Toddy in packages because I mean in NIU, like while Kyrie and his staff were there throughout that 6-year tenure, there was only there was 2 times out of the 6 years where they didn't have a quarterback rush for over 500 yards. And in the 1 year, the quarterback, the 1 year where they didn't, he rushed for 473 yards. So maybe they will feature Toddy. Nothing's really set in stone, but it's kind of like a situation just to kind of keep an eye on as camp plays out.
That's a good stat. I will say,
Insight.
Anthony Russo might be a little bit more athletic than we give him credit
yes.
for. I mean, he definitely had times. I was watching the Deuces Rogers thing with him on 6ABC yesterday, and I forgot one of the highlights is literally him on like an option keeper. He probably takes 11 yards for a touchdown. So there are moments like that.
There's a car that was driving out without closing its trunk.
Oh,
you realized it.
Oh, it's automatic.
And now it's closing. It's an automatic thing.
Well.
I'm sorry. Our podcast studio is very exciting, and I just got distracted. I distracted everybody else.
World famous Al Scoop Studios overlooking a parking lot.
Next question comes from our fellow podcaster, Colin Thompson, former Temple tight end, chimes in, former guest on the pod. He tags Harry Donahue on this. Harry Donahue wants to know if this offense is going to run the swinging gate Wildcat this year, and I think he also tagged Paul Palmer in this. I think that's Colin just making some jokes, some football jokes. I don't know. Maybe they will. Yeah. Who am I to say that they won't? That's a better question for Colin.
John DeCarlo, that's who you are. True.
Maybe Colin Thompson knows that. Rod Carey knows it. That's who knows.
Is Colin coming back in the fall for? Is he doing radio? Do we know?
I don't know. That's a question.
Colin, tweet us if you're listening to this.
Yes.
Colin is producing a lot of podcasts.
Yes, let us know. Business of Sports podcast.
Business of Sports podcast.
So I don't know. Yeah, if you're listening, let us know. Let us know if you're going to be around. I'm sure. Hopefully, we'll be fortunate enough to have him as a guest at some point and talk to him. Next question, also from Twitter, Jamal Doman chimes in. We got the Jaleel kid. Does that mean that's how it reads?
We got the Jaleel
kid. Does that mean his teammate has a good chance of coming here? I love it. That's just like it's like a dinner conversation. We got the Jaleel kid. Who the hell's the other kid? They getting him or what? Tell me. By the time I'm done with my mashed potatoes here, tell me, are they getting him?
Doesn't hurt.
No, I really do think it significantly helps. From what Taj was saying about just how much he really enjoys playing with Jaleel, I think it's really going to maybe make him consider Temple a little more. Because I didn't get a good sense that he wanted to come here at first, and it seems like that would be big for him.
I agree with Kyle. It certainly doesn't hurt.
Doesn't agree with you. Bro.
Yeah.
No, I like...
That was just based on what I kind of read from the conversation.
Well, I mean, again, it all depends on, and I mean this is no disrespect to Taj Sweet, like how vested in Taj are Florida,
right?
You know, West Virginia,
Penn State,
Illinois.
I think Penn State. I think the interest from Seton Hall is legit. I think the interest from Penn State is legit. I think the interest from Rhode Island is legit. The interest from Temple is certainly legit. But yeah, I agree. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't make them a lock. No, I think Temple's got the average fan's going to look at Twitter and see the 8 schools listed and be like, they're not going to out-recruit Florida. But, I think Temple has a better shot than people think. We might know something by September or October or something like that. But, yeah, doesn't hurt them. Next question from Twitter from Steve. I should not butcher this last name. Oscareggi.
Literally, his
Oscar
Twitter
43.
name is the opposite of how you pronounce his name.
Yeah, at Reggie Oscar 43. Anyway, with no true number one running back, will we see more Wildcat packages with Wright or Centeio? Good question.
I think you'll see a lot of Wright. I'm not sure if it's in particular going to be Wildcat packages. I think they can just use him as a regular running back even, or maybe just reverse plays, things like that. I think you'll see a lot of Wright in different ways. I really don't know what they'll do with Centeio. It really just depends on what Rod Carey thinks. I just always found those packages to be so obvious and, even drive killing at times that I would hope they don't do it as often unless they're able to kind of make it more fluent. But I think you're going to see a lot of Wright in different ways.
Yeah, I would say it's going to be a more conventional offense, but conventional college offense still has packages. Like Graham said, they're probably not going to be as shoehorned in as previous regimes.
Yeah, when Anthony Russo was in here a few months ago, he was fairly honest about what the offense was going to be like. He's like, you're going to see some more RPO stuff. He gave us a lot of great insight into the offense. So I wouldn't be surprised if they utilize. I think they legitimately like Centeio. It looks like his arm has gotten stronger. He's just naturally more acclimated. The Isaiah Wright thing is going to be really interesting. Again, we don't, as camp goes on, Rod Carey could start off saying, it could be a committee thing, but who knows if 2 weeks in, you'd be like, he's really starting to flash. Tyleik Grainer, he's been healthy. He hasn't been banged up. Kyle Dobbins has really taken a step. That's one of the things that's fun about covering college football. I mean, somebody could come in against Bucknell, carry the ball 25 times for 130 yards, and you say, okay, he did it against Bucknell. Can he do it in week 2? Maybe the guy does it week 2. Again, I don't know if they have a Bernard Pierce player on this roster.
Week 2.
Okay, week 3. Week 2 meaning their second.
Al Scoop, the authority on
that was perfectly timed. I wish you guys could have seen the expression on Tom. Tom politely leans closer to the mic. He's like, I'm going to nail this joke. And even if I don't nail it, all of you guys are going to like
even
it.
I stuttered a little bit.
No, it was great. It was perfect. So, but who knew Bernard Pierce was going to be? The staff will say they did. But, there could be someone like that on the roster.
I know what point you're trying to make, but Lamar McPherson told me preseason camp of 2009, they have this freshman coming in, Bernard Pierce, who's going to be really good.
Well, there you have it.
For the Isaiah Wright thing, and to be honest, I think I'm usually more of Dave Patno defender than most people, considering they put up a lot of numbers and they set a lot of records, and they went 8-5, and they probably should have gone 9-4 if they hadn't left. It was almost criminal how bad of a job they did getting the ball into Isaiah Wright's hands.
Absolutely.
You have a guy who's probably a future NFL player. He's an All-American kickoff returner. He's elusive, and they did a really bad job of getting him touches.
Yep.
So hopefully that's not the case coming up.
Can't disagree with that. No, we got a couple questions on Instagram, correct?
Graham.
Yes, we do. Let's jump up on Instagram. Remember, you can always follow Al Scoop on Instagram, alscoop_com. Saying the name got me enough time that I could pull up the question. From Andrew Goldstein. This one's specifically for John. Italy highlight and low light for Johnny.
Oh, boy. Highlight. Yeah, my wife and I went to Italy for 2 weeks. It was an amazing trip, beautiful trip. I don't know. Highlight was, seeing a lot of stuff on the Amalfi Coast. You just go to different places on the coast and you're like, this is amazing. I've never seen anything like this. Seeing Capri, seeing Positano, seeing Ravello, stuff like that. Low light.
Get to the low light.
The low light. A lot of people in Rome smoke outside at the dinner table, and all of a sudden you'll just have a plume of smoke floating at you. Maybe that. Couple of restaurants were disappointing. We went on this food tour, and they tell you where to go, where not to go, stuff like that. We actually ate dinner at one restaurant in Capri, and we thought it would be decent, and it was kind of disappointing. Maybe one other place we went to like that. I've been spoiled growing up. My grandmothers are both good cooks. My mom's a good cook. Chelsea's an amazing cook. My mother-in-law's a good cook. I can make meatballs made with products from Roy Tweedy's, where Tom also works occasionally. So every once in a while you'll eat a meal over there. You'd be like, okay, this kind of validates what I do at home. This reminds me of something I eat at home. But I mean, the food was amazing. The weather was great. Got to swim off the coast of Capri. That was some amazing stuff. There really weren't too many lowlights. Kyle's going to chime in with something here. And
Completely unrelated. We were literally just talking about how much Pro Football Focus loves Temple. They just tweeted out the Anthony Russo stat. So there you go. Yeah. Be on the lookout. Lookout spelled with a one word when it should be.
And the accents are fantastic too. Just hearing people I like in the street, and they're just so expressive.
Nice.
So I wish I spoke the language better than I did, which is to say I really don't speak it at all.
Spanish, you can just do that, and it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. And then we got one more question.
We've got one more from Steve Oscar Reggie once again. He says, "Will the
Shout out to
Bahamas?"
Graham.
Nice.
Yeah, he's getting all the platforms in. We appreciate it. Will the Bahamas trip games be available to watch, and are all the players making the trip down?
As far as I know, I don't think you can't watch the games.
I don't
right?
think so. I'm not sure if it's an NCAA violation situation, but I remember when they went to Europe in like 2013, you couldn't watch like any of the games.
Right. And
Just
are
saw
all,
the box scores.
are all the players going, unless I've missed something, yeah. So regardless of whether or not Jake Forrester is eligible or Ty Strickland's eligible, they can play. This trip, and the teams are playing are not going to be great. The competition's not going to be great. But this is critically important for them because it blends in all the new guys, and it's huge for Aaron McKee. Again, he's been an assistant coach before in college, in the NBA, but this is his first chance to figure out, like, what are my rotations going to look like? When do I call a timeout? We've asked him this before, like, what are you going to be like on the bench? He's like, I don't know yet. I honestly don't know. Here's, like, the first step to figuring that out.
Yeah, you can only do this, 4 years, 5 years? I think that's what I remember when they announced this, somebody said, like, well, why don't they do this every year? NCAA regulations say you can only do it every couple. But yeah, it should be exciting. Though I would caution not to put any value in any of the box scores or performances that come out.
No.
Because they're going to be playing up against, like the YMCAs.
Unless Tim Duncan has, like, 8 relatives we don't know about, and they're all little mini Tim Duncans.
Tim Duncan, who's now assistant coach.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
That's like in NBA 2K, you would expect like that would show up. Like, Tim Duncan's now assistant coach.
How we do? First episode back, season 5, episode
I won't
1.
be telling.
Give us a
telling
grade.
my son about this. So
Is that news?
That's not news.
Oh, I thought you weren't going to talk about the podcast.
No, we're talking about it.
Your way of
Yes,
saying
I had to have that in the script. He's like, I'm not going to talk about this.
talk about
And we literally put this out on Twitter, like as if it was a
Instagram.
secret.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Kyle Gauss going to be a
Microsoft
father.
Excel tweeted at me, and they made a graphic.
Somebody who works for Excel.
I
made a
looked
graphic
for like to see
Kyle
if anybody
Gauss.
else had made a graphic for this. No, they had made a graphic.
Yeah.
I looked too. I was like, oh, did they just do
No,
this
that
all
must
the
be like
time?
everything. No,
You should invite Microsoft Excel to your baby shower.
I will.
They bring good gift, I'm sure.
My son's name
I think
is for sale. So Temple used to have a defensive back, might have been a linebacker in the late 90s before I
Excel
knew
Lucas.
it. Excel Lucas. I will be Excel Gauss. I'm fine with that. All come on down. We're very excited. January, I'm hoping he comes a little early so I get a tax break if it happens before, like this year instead of next year. Like 2 weeks early would be a couple $1,000 difference. So if he could come in a little early, that'll be fine.
Heartfelt.
We're excited.
Mm-hmm.
Baby boy Gauss. I
Wow,
thought for sure it
Gauss.
was a girl. It is not a girl.
I've long held
I've
the dream that
seen that it's not a girl.
Kyle will have a son named Lyle Gauss. I'm still holding out hope for that.
I don't think that's true. Kyle wasn't even considered. When I mentioned Kyle, Mike was like, absolutely not.
People really like alliteration. Graham Gauss is just
Graham
a
Gauss.
really nice name.
But that's a different G. Graham Gauss. It's like
It's not.
I know they're both G's.
Yes.
Gra,
And they're both hard G's.
Guh.
Guh.
Gus Gauss.
Guh.
Gus Gauss would be better. Gus Gauss.
Gra is Guh-ra. Guh-ra.
No.
Guh-guh.
I don't agree with this.
What? It's
don't
not.
agree
It's
with
not
it.
George Gauss. It's
You need to
Graham
go
Gauss.
to an ENT doctor.
Oh, this
Figure out what's going on up there.
What? All right. You're just rolling now.
What if? Have you? I'm not expecting you guys to reveal like names, but are there names that people have thrown at you guys and you've been like absolutely?
Oh, dozens.
Yeah.
A coworker gave me 12 of them. I was like, there's no chance of any of these.
So this isn't a name that somebody's thrown at me, but so apparently my girlfriend's brother, when like they were having like her brother, her dad wanted to name his son Geronimo.
Geronimo.
Wow.
Yes.
It's in that song.
And but it didn't end up happening. His name's Nick, so go from Geronimo to Nick. That's a pretty big.
Good job.
There's a lot of
I suggested Tobias, and Meg told me that's like divorce worthy. And she was like, and I was like, it's not even for Tobias Harris.
Tobias Gauss sounds
Yeah,
good.
Tobias Gauss. I was like, that's a regal
Tobias
name.
Gauss,
She
yeah.
was like,
That's a
that's
regal
divorce
name.
worthy.
My dad
walking around
wants
to little kids. Toby.
Toby.
Toby
Toby.
Gauss.
No, see?
My dad wanted to name me Rocco, and he wanted to name my brother Sergio. My mom's like, no, John and Jeff.
Rocco.
You imagine Rocco DiCarlo?
Went to college with Rocco. He's a special needs teacher now. Good guy.
I was Joseph for a good hour or so, and my mom didn't want me to be called Joey, so she flipped it from Joseph Graham to Graham Joseph.
You're Joseph. I'm a Joseph.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
That's my confirmation name.
Really?
That's my brother's name.
A lot of Joes.
I'm Joseph.
What's your middle name?
I was gonna be.
Just said we're having the conversation. I said I'm a
Joseph. I literally because I said confirmation name. I literally thought you were telling me for a second. I don't know why. Like Joseph was like. I literally thought you said for a second like that was your confirmation name. I'm an idiot. I'll excuse myself.
I was
from
gonna
the
be
room
Regina if I was a girl. Regina. Fun fact. But my mom would not let me be called Gina. She said it's Italian. And we're not Italian. So.
Regina George would have been hard for you. Mean Girls would have been.
Still just embarrassed by that last.
Yeah,
right
literally 6 seconds
bad.
later. That's good. Do it for us on the scoop.
See, this is if I were Kyle, I would say Graham, cut this, but no.
No, it's getting left in.
What are you talking about? This was one take. We didn't cut anything.
Yeah, we really. Yeah.
No, we cut a lot of stuff. I don't think we're doing this next week, right? So this is kind of just a teaser.
It's a thick teaser.
Yeah, it's a thick teaser.
A few C's.
2 C's, yeah.
Back in a couple weeks with more camp coverage. Again, stay tuned to the site. We're going to have a lot of Camp Primer stuff. If any football, basketball recruiting news pops up, we'll have that as well. So thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon.